toward a global NATO. Since 2006 I have been calling for the creation of a global NATO to consolidate the security of the democracies of the Atlantic and the Pacific, integrating it, book La Grande Alleanza, 2006, Angeli, and in English in 2007. With precursors in 2022, the participation of Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand in the NATO Summit in Ankara next July is now being confirmed. As observers? Probably something more. Therefore, I consider it useful to begin a reflection on the future global alliance of democracies, both as a counterweight to the Sino-centric bloc of authoritarian nations and as an entity capable of providing an ordering capacity in the face of the multiple and growing sources of global disorder. For Italy, the issue is of the highest priority. It is a small geopolitical power, but a major economic power dependent on exports, the fourth largest in the world. To increase exports, a short/medium-term goal set by the government at 700 billion per year, up from the current roughly 630/635, it needs the area in which commercial operations can be carried out safely, and therefore insurable, to be increasingly broad and protected. The option of a mercantilist strategy, geopolitically neutral, is not practicable, except to a minimal extent, for Rome. Put simply, Italy cannot be Switzerland. Therefore, it needs force multipliers through aligned alliances. Until now, such multipliers have been found through a dual alliance method with the EU and the United States, but now a larger multiplier/umbrella is needed for security and economic expansion. America, although a superpower, is now too small to sustain alone the role of policeman and locomotive of the planet. There is awareness of the problem in Washington, but this is producing strategic confusion, retrenchment-style Americanism, aggressive and economically assertive, relaunch, hedgehog-style dominance of the Americas, redeployment of military forces from Europe to the Pacific to contain China, but increased capacity for military interventions in Africa, for example Nigeria, and the Middle East. In short, a muddle that is creating a deterrence gap vis-a-vis authoritarian China. Indeed, Beijing is seizing the opportunity of the geopolitical vacuum left by America to generate a prophecy that sees it as the planet's leading global power. With a consequence not yet fully perceived, the transfer of global standards from the dominance of democracies to that of authoritarian regimes. Therefore, democracies are called to integrate at the global level in order to have the strength needed both to influence authoritarian regimes and to provide stability to the economic cycle of democratic capitalism. Moreover, it is in the Europeans' interest to align a broader security architecture with the extension of low-tariff and fair trade agreements that the EU has signed and is signing in the Pacific, for example Japan and India, negotiations with Australia, etc., and in the Atlantic, Canada, Mexico, Mercosur, etc. It is in America's interest to rely on the scale effect and force multiplier of a global alliance in which it would still remain the leading power. For this reason, I hope that the invitation to Ankara extended to the Pacific nations will include their top political figures, in order to initiate a deeper and faster integrative process. Science fiction? There are signs of Euro-American convergence on the matter. After Trump it will be possible, and therefore the scenario of a global NATO, with a name change, is gaining probability.